market heading towards the bottom. You know, like a lot of people keep looking at this is surface level stuff and aren't really kind of uncovering what's the bottom of it. You know, like why is BlackRock even talking about Bitcoin, right? Why would they take a look at it? You know, why would they take a look at why are companies like Starbucks doing loyalty programs through NFTs? Is it just they're trying to attract a younger crowd, or is there actual business value to them, right? So like wherever there's business value, that's where the spark is, right? Everything else is just smokes and mirrors.
So give me a little bit more about that. How does the whole thing work?
Well, here, I think in the market right now, what everyone knows is that this is where everything's headed, right? They just don't know how, where, when, like who, what, right? They just don't know how to basically tap into these secondary sources of revenue, tap into this, this way to verify not just the purchase, but being able to take something that's normally been done and has like one value point, and being able to add like 5 to 10 other value points on the same structure, like an NFT, right? So there's a lot of people, a lot of companies that are effectively, testing things out right now. I mean, I think Nike and Adidas made $250 million on a test, right? With their NFT launch, which was last year. So people aren't really taking a look at what's happening and the momentum of use cases that are building in the market. Like take a look at what Hedera just did with Hyundai, right? Like there's so many use cases that are popping out on a daily basis, right? And that momentum is only going to lead one place.
Where's that?
To a global infrastructure.
Alice, get your shoes. We've just walked into Alice in Wonderland. All right. Well, let me address that a little bit because I was hoping you'd go there. Look, the way I'm looking at the space is the technology is amazing. Blockchain is amazing. It could be used for such great things in our future, but it's just like what's the word? The war machine, I guess, right? If they see something that could be used for war, right, they're going to use it, regardless if like Tesla invented a natural energy source, man. But if they can use that laser beam, they're going to take the technology because that's what they want. So my take on it is they want the blockchain technology so that they can tokenize every freaking asset on Earth, period, end of story. And they're going to use the NFTs to be able to describe the asset, right? But at the end of the day, I think that's what we'll be working. We'll be working commerce on a digital platform, and everything will be controlled. The centralization through blockchain is inevitable, and it's terrible in a lot of ways.
So Pedro, the number one currency in the world is attention.
I don't get a lot of that, so
Okay.
Can I have some of that attention? I mean, can I get a token of attention, please?
Right. So when you start thinking about why things move from, like MySpace was great back in the day. I don't know if you guys were on.
Oh yeah,
I was on Friendster. What are you talking about?
Right. Like it was great till attention shifted. Right. Like Ask Jeeves was great till attention shifted. Google was great till attention shifts. Right. So there's when you give people choice, and I think choice is the biggest part of this equation, and there's going to be two worlds. There's going to be your private profile and your public profile, right? You're going to have two different DIDs, right? And the ability to do a peer-to-peer interaction, right? Like people are go where the best option is, right? What works best for their life, and it's the collective attention of something or towards something that makes that thing come alive, right? So if it's not good for the people, eventually they'll start looking elsewhere. So that's how revolutions begin, right? And this one started, a little while back because people already understood that printing money is a lose-lose sum. right? And we needed to have some type of mechanism that provided value for all people, not just a few.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. And as we move towards more and more just gamification of everything, whenever you're on a subway or you're in an elevator with multiple people, most people are on their phones. Most of the time they may be looking at text messages or communicating with folks, but a lot of the times they're playing games, right? So if you can find a way to gamify loyalty programs, it's a new way to captivate the attention of your constituents to enhance and strengthen brand loyalty. So that's why I think, and Majid, correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of companies have a fixed eye on what the potential for, we use the buzzword of Web3, but what it could actually mean for folks. And a lot of that stuff would probably be seamless to a consumer. They wouldn't know the difference between blockchain, NFTs, all this stuff. They know of it, but they may not know exactly what they could do. I mean, an NFT could be as simple as a QR code that you scan, and you go to Macy's and you buy $200 worth of clothing, and then you're going to get potentially digital coupons, or they could be digital tokens that are Macy tokens that could be used. It's just a different way to gamify the aspect of customer loyalty. At least one aspect is.
I think Majid just pretty much said the greatest thing that's ever been said on my podcast. I mean, that is absolutely true. And you can apply that to AI because when AI started, just like you had mentioned on blockchain, they had no way of knowing how they were going to monetize that. They had no way of knowing where the money was going to come from. Yet there was billions invested in a technology that they had faith in. That's the simplest way to explain this. So now I find myself going more into Chat GPT than I do Google anymore.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I find Google archaic. I find all of the other platforms the same because they're not interacting with me. And I think that's the definition of Web3, okay? Going back to where I think this technology is going, and there's no doubt that banks want control in my mind. They want control and they want to be able to shut you down at a flick whenever they want.
Well,
that's just an opinion, and that's where I'm thinking this thing is going. And let me go.
So it's more than controlled authority. Like when you start thinking about why they have that authority, right? Why is there a financial institution that manages, monitors, handles our funds for us, right? So if you start thinking about most things, whether it's our health, there's a doctor. When there's for your car, there's a mechanic. For like everyone. So basically what people have done over the last hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, is giving away their sovereignty, right? Giving away their self-sovereignty in all aspects of their being, right? What this is moving towards is people giving their sovereignty back, because you don't need a third party when the transaction is as secure as it can be. When those peer-to-peer type interactions become more real and they start happening on a global level, you're going to see so much money shift that, and everybody knows it. So they're trying to figure out how do they still have a presence in this new world that's about to come, and that's really what everyone's trying to figure out right now.
How do you want to address that, Chris? What do you think? You're a banker, ex-banker.
Well, I think that overall the last 40 years we've enjoyed, at least in this country, very favorable interest rates that have allowed us to do a lot of things. And that time is kind of at an end right now. So there's a monumental shift. And sometimes when you have these monumental shifts, people can, so to speak, like if you're at bat, and you're going through a time where you can't get a hit to save your life, you hang on to the bat a little bit tighter. So I think that's what we might be seeing a little bit more of is from a centralized perspective, just making sure that the P's and Q's and the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. You saw in Ukraine when Russia went in, they capped what you could take out of banks at $3,000. So they can do that anywhere at any time, including our country. So being able to take whatever we can of that back to whatever extent we can is critically important at this time. And I think that decentralization in most forms or fashions, I think we may have spoken about this on the last podcast, most of the altcoins and other stuff that's out there don't kind of fit in that bucket. To me, Bitcoin is one of the only things, if not the only thing, that really does speak to what could be true decentralization. The ones that aren't within financial institutions where they can kind of gain some control over it, to me, it's a little bit of a hedge against what our monetary policy is going to be like going forward.
Who's the largest shareholder of Coinbase? You guys know?
I don't know, actually.
BlackRock.
Is it BlackRock?
Yeah.
I know that they're my former shop, Standard Chartered Bank. I know that they're a significant shareholder there too, which is why, which was interesting to me that Standard Chartered came out with an equity research report, or a research report saying that they expected the price of Bitcoin to shoot up to somewhere between, I think, 120 to 150,000 by next year.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Well, if you look, most of the major organizations, including utilities, are owned by Vanguard, BlackRock. And Fink has already come out and said that he wants to influence their charter, their mission, whatever, to align with globalist agenda, the WEF and all those. And he's looking to change and do things that are more in alignment with them. Ergo, why Target, for example, changed clothing lines. It was almost fatal for them. Why Budweiser endorsed who they endorsed, fatal for them, and the list goes on. That coupled with the new technology that's coming that they're heavily investing in, which is tokenization, okay, through various resources. As a matter of fact, Warren Buffett has gone into the space by buying a bank in Brazil that's deep in the space, okay? Right. So everyone's looking at this because you would be a fool not to. It's like ignoring a smartphone.
Yeah,
it's like, that
it's
technology.
the evolution of the internet, right?
Right.
Like it's, first we were able to read it, then we were able to do commerce with it. Now we're going to be able to own it. So, and people will have a chance to own it. So I think it's, it will spur on a whole renaissance of not just commerce, but you're having a third of the world which is unbanked. I let all that commerce come into play as well. It's the next 20 years is exciting and terrifying at the same time.
That's a great point. Something to think about is, how many people in the world have bank accounts? We have a privilege here that most of us do have bank accounts, but most of the, almost half of the rest of the world doesn't. So what do some of those people have to make up for that from a communication standpoint, which is phones? And, you're getting more and more of the older, Apple iPhones that aren't here in the United States going out to other countries. So you're getting more and more of these smartphones where you can communicate through that. So it makes sense to have digitization in a more prevalent fashion than we've ever had it before. And it's only going to snowball from here on out.
I think we're all optimists in the space. Although I see the darkness in the space. I do see what could happen, the control, the Orwellian, I can't pronounce that word very well, 1984 possibilities. Although I got into the space because of the white paper of Bitcoin. I love the peer-to-peer. I love what was said earlier, that you get to keep an independence that is lacking with our current system. So I dig that. I am just looking at the space currently with all these shit coins coming around and taking people's money, and I'm not in agreement with that. Although I don't want to stifle the innovation, because out of that will come a lot of good things. So I would just tread lightly in that game. And yeah, you may come out as the big winner one day, but you'll be the big loser the next day if you keep playing the game. It's like chasing candles, right?
I mean, there's different ways to play the game. You don't have to invest to play the game. You could actually just participate and still win big. I know there's a bunch of places that allow you to, socially like them, and they give you all these different things to do, and then you could earn tokens for that or earn this for that. You take that, you swap it out into BTC, you keep doing that, you're going to build. But you're going to have an understanding of the space. And if you have an understanding of the space, that's something that you carry with you for a long time. If you just follow pricing and like what you think, if you're just gambling out there, then you're always going to be stuck gambling and you'll never be able to participate.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of human nature that people get kind of complacent in life. Like when folks who have made money rooted in fiat and have done very well for themselves, they're less inclined to kind of want to see what else is out there in a lot of instances. So something like digital assets to them doesn't seem like a pillar of wealth or an upcoming pillar of wealth compared to real estate, art, or other things that are of value. So, whether it's changing that perception or, over time something just takes enough of a foothold, like Bitcoin, to me, has a couple of different narratives. That's just to me, though. I know, what's in the white paper. But, it could be something as easily as explained as a downloadable virus that is permeated through the rest of the rest of the world right now and is only picking up steam. I don't know how many wallets there are. There's something like 100 and something million wallets. And most of those are duplicate wallets of other folks, but there is a tremendous amount of those wallets, and they've grown in size over the last few years here. So we're definitely picking up momentum in this space, whether folks like that are resistant and reticent to adopt it or not. It's something that's coming down the pipe now.
I think as we kind of take a look at things globally, the problem that majority of us have, it doesn't matter what side you sit on, is we're hoping that politics shifts the situation. Mm-hmm. Politics has never shifted any situations, right? What will do it though is technology and attention, right? So when technology starts shifting towards where people's wants and needs are, which is where it usually goes, then there will be a solution. It actually does exist. If you guys take a look at MetaKeep, that is a great example, metakeep.xyz. That's a great example of a technology solution that is built for the people, right? So you're going to have more and more technology come that people will want to adopt because okay, that makes sense. I'll adopt that. I'll start there, right? So if you give people a start and a choice for something that resonates with them, that's how you break through things.
I agree. And I also see and am hopeful for the decentralization aspect of it that you're alluding to. So on that note, let's talk about Maui. So what are your thoughts on Maui, boys? I mean, let's do this. What are your thoughts?
Man, there's a lot of theories running around. What I do know is I have friends who live there. They haven't been affected, thankfully, as their families are safe. But I know the government's been extremely slow to respond. I know there's a lot of people protesting heavily there, but that's the extent of my knowledge, as in what I know, and everything else is, man, that could be possible.
Yeah, obviously, terrible thing. Thoughts and prayers go out first and foremost to the folks out there that have dealing with tough times. It seems to be, from what I've seen in the news, that it was something that I think was a down power line from the high winds at first, but I think it was something that was discussed on multiple occasions that they needed a workaround around that in case of issues like this that caused this storm. That caused, I guess it was a firestorm. Basically, the wind pushed a lot of these tinders onto people's houses and up in flames in no time. What I'm seeing, though, the after effects of, you're seeing a lot of these real estate entities try to come in and do things, which is really in what I would consider kind of poor form. Yeah, so having these real estate companies come in and try to offer, a lot of these folks that have been disrupted and taken, their homes have been burned down, and try and offer them, pennies on the dollar, or definitely a discount over what their houses did go for in their property before, I think is in poor form right now. It's just happened a week ago. A lot of people have lost a lot of folks. I actually was there for a day to see if I could kind of help out. My partner, she's a flight attendant, so I'm her companion. So she's like, hey, I have a trip to Maui. Do you want to accompany me? I was like, sure. Let me just see if there's some way I could help. But there's already, Allstate and Farmers Insurance, they're already there, and a bunch of other insurance entities are there. Some real estate folks already there surveying we stayed in Wailea, which wasn't impacted nearly to the extent, obviously, that Lahaina has been affected. So, just a terrible thing. And, obviously everybody's going through their processes now to see how much insurance money these folks can get back and other stuff. But just, I question the how slow, the top of the house has been within our country to really react or say anything to it. I don't even know if the president addressed it yet, or if he did, maybe it was recently.
He was there today or yesterday.
Right. A week and a half after everything happened. And,
yeah.
And any commentary before that, or?
Well, let me give you my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Let me give you my 2 little big cents. Here we go. Number 1, too many coincidences. Why didn't the water get turned on or proved to be used after 5 hours of the request that was made? Why? Why did the police stop everybody on Front Street and wouldn't let them pass to get to safety And all those people and all those cars, they were destroyed. Why? Why were the kids left, taken out of school to go home to empty houses, 1,300 of them, to go home and basically die or are missing? Who knows if they're dead, but they're missing. Why? Why were they taken? Why were they left their safety of the school to be taken to their homes where they were pretty much alone? Because most people, I don't know about you guys, man and wife need to work, right? So why? Why wasn't the alarm sounded? Why didn't the most technically advanced alarm in Hawaii, why didn't it go off? I've been to Maui several times, and man, I've heard that alarm so many times that it's a test, right? I was there when there was a tsunami because some chunk of ice went down in British Columbia, and they sounded the alarm, and everybody head for the hills. Why wasn't that sounded? Why after the fact, right, was FEMA so slow to respond? Why don't we have the ability as citizens to give to fellow citizens care, aid, and supplies? Why were we stopped? Because it wasn't a government agency. Why? Why did we have a change in the police, a sheriff that was here in Las Vegas that was involved in the shootings, and all of a sudden the guy's in Maui, right? Why didn't he handle it better? Why? I could keep going, man. Why don't the people of Maui, Lahaina, have a voice? Why are they being shut down? Why is TikTok, YouTube, and everybody else, every social media, stopping videos going out of what's actually going on in Lahaina? Why? I am shocked and appalled at the way the Hawaiian government has handled the situation. And don't get me started on how those damn fires started in the first place. Why is it that just certain houses burnt down and others didn't? Why are some of these elite rich folk, their houses are intact? Why? Coincidence? And one thing that they better understand right now, you don't mess with a Hawaiian in their house. You don't mess with their land. You don't mess with their holy mountain. And that's right there in Maui. You don't mess with that. These people will stand up and are going to stand up. It's not going to be so easy for them to take over Maui as they think it will be. Just because they burnt down their houses and killed their children doesn't mean the people are going to stand for this. And there's going to be ramifications to be paid. There's going to be investigations to be had because this whole thing has been mismanaged. And then we have a token visit from the president, a week and a half after? Then they want to give the people a measly $600 to help them out, yet we can send billions to the causes that they want in the Ukraine. And I'm not putting down people in Ukraine, no. I'm just saying, why isn't there more help for these people? Why aren't there search parties that are dedicated, civilians allowed to go in there and help? Why are we being stonewalled from helping as citizens? So all those may have a good answer, but I haven't heard of one. So I'm very disappointed in everybody at this point, except for the heart and the spirit of these great Hawaiian people that I am truly, truly sorrowful.
I think it's absolutely terrible what's happened there. And I didn't know 90% of those things that you were mentioning, but I have no reason to disbelieve you. But I think more people speaking up about it, the more attention that goes there to the voice of those people, the better for all of us. So all of us should be asking questions.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Very tough situation over there. A lack of responsiveness to the way that I think our country should respond to things. I think we need to be better overall at that. And, it really starts with our government. And I guess it starts with us leaning on our government to be better about that and communicating that to them. That's what we can do, on our side. But yeah, just a very difficult situation over there. You have folks that are working, but their minds are like elsewhere because you still have flights running in and out, and tourism is still huge, on the island of Maui. So you know, you kind of have folks in a daze, like figuring out like, do they go back to a normal life? Their life is anything but normal right now. It's a tough situation over there. So you're watch it closely, see how it plays out.
Well, I didn't mention the fact that there's a proposal for 15-minute cities. They're trying to make Maui a 15-minute city. And that happened a week before the fire, that there was a conference on that. There was a conference the day of the fire from, I think it was FEMA or the response units, right? So there's just too many things going on over there that I just personally just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm appalled. But anyway, we'll end on that. Is there anything you guys want to add?
Thanks for an always engaging conversation. There's, I think in the next 12 to 24 months, there will be a lot of opportunity for a lot of people. So, keep your ears tuned to this station and let's all win together.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a definitely, I would say the next 12 to 18 months are going to be pretty interesting. For better or worse, they're not going to be boring times, that's for sure. And I think, we have an election year next year. So let's see how things go over the next 6 to 12 here, actually, in particular, is what I'm curious about. So thanks for having us on the show, as always.
You're welcome. Well, I'll leave you guys with this. There's a Chinese proverb that says it's better to live in interesting times, folks. And you're now in interesting times. Thanks for tuning in to Urban Legend Crypto. Have a great day.